Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Sammy United People's TV. The transfer deadline has finished. It's slammed shut. Man United haven't made any signings. We were never really going to make a signing this January. Semenyo was an opportunity that we wanted to try and take advantage of. It didn't quite work. But I'm going to run through everything that's happened this January. All the deals that happened yesterday. Quite a few loans, actually. But it's about as far as it goes when it comes to United. I'm also going to run through what David Ornstein's had to say on United's plans, ambitions, looking ahead towards the summer, which is kind of what we were doing in January. And that was before Ruben Amorim got sacked, let alone when another... Anyway, I'm going to run through everything. You can let me know your frustrations, your concerns. Do I think it's a missed opportunity for United? I think there are risks either side. I hope we've got enough. Injuries could change that. We'll run through it all. We'll also speak a little bit more on Casemiro, a little bit more on Carrick, on what we've got coming up next. Of course, we've got Spurs on Saturday, and then a quick turnaround. We've got two games very quickly, Spurs and West Ham, and then a 13-day gap between West Ham and Everton. 3 games we've got coming up in Feb. Bloody 3 games. And I'll run through the under-21s last night. How are you all doing? Get involved in the chat. Let me see who's here. We have got Carl, good morning to you. We've got Alex. We've got We've got Maddie. We've got Chris, thank you very much. Good morning to you, dude. Gifting some membership straight away. Every single day. This community is the one. Really is. And we've stayed this true as a community throughout all the crap that we've had to trudge through as United fans in these last few years. Sigmund, good morning to you as well, gifting 5 memberships. And you're saying 3 signings at the most, need 6 or 7. Hey, look, I'm going to speak about the transfer window. You know what I'm going to say to kick off today's show, though?
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Still might be the funniest thing that Casemiro has ever done in a United shirt. He wasn't even actually wearing a United shirt. Did it. Rich is saying if we've got Champions League football next season, we need more players. That goes without saying. Now, can we all just, before we get into the seriousness of today's show, can we just take a moment just to think about Cristiano Ronaldo, all right? He's had to go on strike. Oh, man, it's a tough time for him out there. It's a tough time. Tough time for him out there. Yeah. I will laugh in the face of any player that goes to Saudi Arabia and then throws the toys at the prep. Why are you not signing any players? The other state-owned club inside this league, they're signing more players than we are. What a shame. And that's all I want to say on that. And then we can move on. I just wanted to point and laugh at that. Just the idea of somebody going on strike. Because anyway, right. What I'm going to do to kick off today's show, to begin with, I'm going to run through all the deals that have happened because there were quite a few loan moves for United players. And I think a lot of you will be interested in this one. This one was announced about half an hour ago. Sekou Kone going to Lausanne Sport for the rest of the season. So it turns out he's been training with Lausanne Sport since early January. And now his move's been confirmed. It's the best thing that we could have hoped for, really, for the second half of this season for Sekou Kone. Because of that injury, fractured eye socket, missed 3 months, his progress through the first team, any pathway that might have been there, probably disappeared. So now his progress is going to happen. I'm kind of surprised that United aren't doing this with more than one player. I think it was Enzo Canabic who went there at the start of the summer, on loan. And now Sekou Kone's going there. I really hope it ends up being a beneficial move for him. He'll be playing senior. It might not be the absolute elite level Swiss football, but it's going to be senior men's football. And that's a big step for him. So fingers crossed, he does well. I'm sure we'll do a video, let's say, I suppose towards the end of the season, because it's February now. In a few months' time, we'll have a look at his performances and how he's been getting on. So I wish him the absolute best of luck. Now, one thing to remember here, Diego Leon was quite heavily, I don't know how heavily linked, but it feels like it, quite heavily linked with a move to Nice during the January transfer window. Now, I wouldn't exactly say Nice is a stable environment right now. Remember that Ineos are trying to sell Nice and have been trying to sell Nice for about 12 months? Thereabouts. Anyway, he's not gone there. He's stayed with United, so Diego Leon will be playing through our academy teams. That's going to be his progress in the second half of this season. Let me see what you're saying down here. Why is Ronaldo on strike? Because he's an absolute diva. That's bloody why. Man, it still annoys me so much that United re-signed him for Solskjaer. I know that we got like the greatest dopamine hit that we could ever possibly imagine. That Newcastle game was a hell of a hype. But just the utter distraction from any sort of concept of long-term planning. And that was a summer, if I remember correctly, where we were told that Solskjaer didn't have enough money to sign a midfielder, and then all of a sudden we signed Ronaldo. Yeah, just it annoys me so much. Man, the arguments we used to get into. Not me and you, but just me and some United fans. The Ronaldo stand is strong. Anyway, so Sekou Kone's gone to Lausanne Sport on loan. Diego Leon, he's staying at the club. And some other loan spells that were confirmed yesterday. Ethan Wheatley, he's going back to... Is he back to Bradford? I think it's back to Bradford. And you're saying hindsight's a wonderful thing? Dude, it's not hindsight. It was at the time. It felt odd. The only reason that United signed Ronaldo was because he was joining Man City. And we knew as a football club that we couldn't let that happen. It was part of the logic of signing him. I remember doing that video at the time as well. Anyway, Ethan Wheatley, he's gone to Bradford on loan. And a couple of interesting ones. Gabriel Bianchetti has gone to Rotherham on loan. Now, there were reports yesterday suggesting that Real Betis tried to sign him on a permanent deal. And United said no. And now he's gone on loan to Rotherham. He's been banging in goals for the last couple of years. And I was always a bit surprised, really, kind of seeing as we've just spoken about him. Ethan Wheatley, when he broke through, I don't know if Gabriel Bianchetti was in the exact same time as him, but even Chido Obi at the same time as Bianchetti was scoring goals. Fingers crossed, he uses that loan spell well and he develops because Gabriel Bianchetti has left. And James Scanlon as well, going to Swindon Town. We've spoken about Scanlon for quite a while. I've always found it really odd that he's kind of been overlooked. Because when you go down to the under-21s and you think about players who might get an opportunity, Scanlon's been banging in goals left, right and centre for a good long time now. And he's already a senior international football. It might be Gibraltar, but he's playing senior international football. He's gone on loan to Swindon. Good luck to him. And then we got another one, Jacob Devaney, going on loan to St Mirren. Under-21s captain, I think he was. That's an interesting one. I'm guessing St Mirren are in the SPL now. Not now, but I'm guessing they're in the SPL. I don't actually know. Someone let me know. Jibak is saying, Sam, do you think the likes of Leon, Lacey, Collier and Amass play a role in the first team next season? Can't buy all the players that we need for a full squad. The best United squads manage to complement youth players with experience. Now, there is quite a lot of experience in this squad, but we're going to be losing... I don't know how much of it this summer, but we're going to be losing quite a lot. Casemiro's leaving. Maguire hasn't signed a new contract yet, so Maguire might be leaving. We don't know what's going on with Bruno. I like to think that Bruno now stays for at least another year, given that the positions in the squad have shifted. But it's a possibility that United move Bruno on. So there is a hypothetical situation where United lose the experience of Casemiro, Maguire and Bruno in the same summer. How do you improve the squad, given what we already need to improve on, and replace that experience and blend that with players coming through? I have no idea. We'll speak about Lacey and we'll speak about his performances for the under-21s and also his performance yesterday. Someone's saying, what's happening to Sekou Kone? Well, you've joined in 5 minutes late. Rewind. Just explained what's happened and he's gone on loan to Lausanne Sport. Gus is saying, what's happened with Chido Obi? He's faded now. I wouldn't say he's faded. He just scored for the under-21s, I swear, the other day. It's just that Chido Obi was pushed above the fold last season because Højlund couldn't find the back of the net. And we were a little bit desperate for goal scorers. So he made his first team debut probably sooner than the club would have expected and that he would have expected. Yeah, Luke Shaw, Rich, that is another one that could potentially happen in the summer. So, again, I'm just running through a complete roundup of what happened with United and transfers. There's no signings for me to talk about. And I'm not surprised. Where's the secret midfielder? Oh, you mean it was just literally somebody making something up, pulling it out of thin air, and United fans running with it. I mean, who could have? Did anyone see that? Anyone see that coming? No. Me neither. Completely over my head. Damn. That is part and parcel why United fans. I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm saying why a lot of the United fan base gets so frustrated is because they believe nonsense. And when you believe nonsense and you think that something is going to happen, when it doesn't happen, you will be more frustrated that it didn't happen. It's sort of like this vicious circle. Andy's saying experienced players facilitate youth chances. It's, well, in United's greatest teams, yes. I'm not sure about now. Right, Jack Morehouse, he's returned from his loan at Leyton Orient. I think he made 24 appearances there. But Leyton Orient spoke to United and were like, opportunity is going to be a bit more limited in the second half of the season, so it's been cut short. So presumably, he goes back into the under-21 squad with Adam Lawrence, of course, who came in as the head coach again. Don't know. Now, an interesting one, I'd say, is this. Reports yesterday suggested that Malacia was basically on the way to board a flight to Turkey to join Besiktas on loan. But that Jason Wilcox at the 11th hour was like, hold up, never mind. Now, I don't know why that would have happened at the 11th hour yesterday, because Malacia probably getting his loan move blocked, it feels like a consequence of Dorgu's injury more than anything else, which of course didn't happen yesterday. That's kind of my point. I don't know why that would have been blocked at the 11th hour. But Malacia is staying at the club, presumably down there as left back, backup. I mean, what is our left back situation now? You got Luke Shaw, who, fingers crossed and touch wood and all that, he'll manage to stay fit for the rest of the season. He's played more minutes than anybody else so far. Does that mean that Malacia is our second choice left back? Seriously, who else could play there? I mean, I suppose you could play Diogo Dalot there if you kind of wanted to get desperate. I don't particularly want to play him there. Ada, you're saying, look, yeah, we've got no backups at left back. That's why that move's got blocked. Unfortunate for him, but just a reality of Dorgu's injury. Mazraoui, yeah, I suppose you could play Mazraoui there. Yeah, I know that's why he's being kept as cover, but I find it a bit odd that people were suggesting he was on a plane or about to board a plane for Besiktas yesterday. Well, it wasn't as if Dorgu got his injury yesterday. Martinez? Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll be seeing Martinez at left back anytime soon. Speaking of left backs, this on Harry Amass. Turns out he's got a training injury with Norwich. Don't actually know how bad it is. Said, obviously, it's not how I wanted to start my time at Norwich. Determined to get back on the pitch as soon as possible. The setback I haven't faced before. So we don't know the level of the injury for Harry Amass, but fingers crossed it's nothing more than something minor that he's picked up straight away. Because I really want him to have a strong loan spell. Second half of the season. I thought the Sheffield Wednesday one was actually quite strong in certain ways. Now, Norwich, hopefully, might be a little bit more optimistic than playing at the team who's rock bottom of the Championship. But he's got an injury, so fingers crossed it's not too bad. I don't know. But I've got no idea how bad it is, so I'm not going to speculate. We'll find out on that. Random one, transfer-wise, Angel Gomez back in the Premier League. Back in the Premier League? Has he ever played for a Premier League team? Can't remember. Good luck to him. I thought that might be quite a cool one to watch. See how he plays. Right. Now we come to the main point for, the main conversation that we're going to have today around transfers. So this is why David Ornstein's on the thumbnail, because we're going to run through what David Ornstein had to say on Sky Sports yesterday about United's transfers. Now, before I run through that, I kind of want to get your opinion on the January transfer window, on sort of what you were expecting going into it and you're feeling now at the end of it. Because naturally, there's chaos, shambles, letdown, shocking, sack 'em all the words you want to use. How do you feel about it? I remember doing a video, must have been about a week, I think, before Amram got sacked, and it felt like because of the opportunity that existed in this second half of this season, because of everything that's bloody going on with everyone else in the league. Drop points galore. Not just this weekend, but every single weekend. There's drop points galore. It felt like there was more of an ability to positively impact the second half of this season with a transfer, with a signing, than usual. That's kind of what I felt. And then United, of course, were going after Semenyo. If Semenyo wanted to join United, we would have signed Semenyo. He had his preference for City. We clearly had the money for Semenyo, clearly had the ambition to sign Semenyo, but he chose City. So, are you looking at January now as a complete travesty and a failure, and it's all going to go wrong because we haven't signed anyone in January? I'm going to see what you're saying down here. Kari saying wasn't expecting anything given who we want for the midfield. Dave saying, I would have hoped they did some smart business to strengthen the squad temporarily for that opportunity. Ruben Neves was one name. I'm guessing Ruben Neves stayed. Who did he play for? Is it Al Hilal? I think he is. I don't remember him going anywhere. Someone down there saying, I think it's smart the club to save money for the summer instead of signing short-term projects. I'm going to ask you a question down here. Random question. Start a poll. Which would you have rather happened? Would you have rather happened? Signing Conor Gallagher for 40 mil, which is what Spurs did. Not signing a midfielder at all. I'm genuinely curious on that one. One injury away from a disaster. I don't think that we could have possibly signed the midfielder of the level that we want in January, where it wouldn't have been like one injury away from a disaster. I think if Casemiro gets... Truth be told, it would be amazing and extremely unlikely that United go through the rest of this season without an injury for Kobe or an injury for Casemiro. You'd expect it. I know we're only playing once a week, but still you'd expect it. But yeah, I think the Gallagher example, whether it was 30 mil, 40 mil, it's one of those two, right? A lot of United fans would have wanted a not a signing for the sake of a signing, but sort of like bring anyone in, bring a body in. We just need to have someone there. Someone down there saying a loan was the ideal option. Yeah, and you're mentioning Neves. Neves was the name that I kept like repeating in my head. I think if I was to choose somebody, I might have gone for Neves. But I understand why United didn't go for someone like Conor Gallagher for 30, 40 mil. And that's now 2 Januaries in a row. So we're seeing a strategy, right? You might not like it, but we're seeing a strategy. Last January, it was Matthias Tell. Who was the other one? There was another player that United were linked with going after, and we didn't actually get him. Was it Spurs as well? Oh, damn it, who was it? Anyway, we didn't sign Matthias Tell. Spurs ended up signing him. They were obligated to sign him, and then in the summer, they didn't particularly want to sign him, and I don't think it's been a successful signing for them. So that may have given them a little bit of a boost in the second half of the season. But I'm glad that United avoided that. Who was the other one? I can't remember. I swear there was another midfielder. Was it a midfielder? Just somebody that we were linked with signing on a loan with an obligation. Someone saying Mateta? Don't know. Either way, United have done the same thing in 2 January transfer windows. We've avoided what may have just turned out being a short-term boost with the concept of looking towards the summer. Now, Kolo Muani. Thank you very much, Mikey. That was it. It was Kolo Muani. Again, the same Kolo Muani who is just sort of like getting passed between Juve and Spurs and PSG going, I don't want him. I want him. You want him? I want him. Seriously? You want him? Fine, I'll have him. Oh, fuck's sake. So neither of those two ended up being beneficial in anything past a real short term. So I'm going to run through what David Ornstein now said on Sky Sports, speaking about the summer strategy. Now, again, we'll speak about this in a sec. There's going to be people like, here we go, spin. It's what United do. Have a bad January and then speak about the summer and raise belief and optimism. It's just, I think they're kind of just talking about what the strategy is. And did any of us expect us to spend in the way that we did last summer? That's the main thing I'm going to say before I watch this and I play this. Did any of us expect United to go out and spend north of 200 mil on 3 absolutely top tier attackers? No, we did not. And that was last summer when our finances were certainly in a... I'm not saying that our finances are flush and great now, because they're definitely not. But last summer, we had no idea how much we had to spend. We were worried that we weren't going to have anything to spend. And we still managed to do that. That's just the one thing I'm going to say. Right? Let's run through this.
David, a quiet January, which I think we were expecting, but does it speak to what's predicted to be a crazy summer for United, both departures and arrivals?
Yeah, we say crazy. It often doesn't materialise to be as literal as that, but I do think there's a lot that they want to do. Most importantly, central midfield. And so that's why we are going to see continued links with the likes of Elliot Anderson, of Adam Wharton, of Carlos Baleba, and there will be others in the frame because that is such a critical position, especially now Casemiro has confirmed his departure. There's also intrigue around the left-sided attacking position because obviously they were in for Antoine Semenyo, didn't get him. They'll have Rashford and Sancho departing. So that's an existing aim for that part of the pitch.
I find that bit interesting. Like the midfielders, I don't need to tell you anything new about midfielders. United are planning to have the same... Would I expect the same level of investment? Hey, if you were to guess now, of course all we can do is guess and speculate here, but it's a bit fun. If you were to guess, how much do you think United are going to spend on midfielders this summer? I'm not necessarily saying how many midfielders you think will sign, but if we spent what? Was it 65 on Cunha? I think it was 70. Was it 70, 75? It was about 200 mil on Šeško, Cunha and Mbeumo. Thereabouts. Do you think that we're going to be doing the same thing in midfield? Now, I think if we do get the midfielder we want, it's going to be way more. You're talking 100 mil plus just for Anderson. Let alone the others that you might sign with him. Let me see what you're saying down here in the chat. Ant, you think 200 mil at most? Alex, you're going for 200. Fats, you're going for 145. John, you think 200. Siegs, you think 200. Needs to be around 300. I mean, calm down. Realistically, you're looking at... I think you need 2 top-level Cunha and Mbeumo style midfielders. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to have to be 26, 27, but you know what I mean? Like Premier League proven. And that may well be Baleba and Anderson, by the way. I think if United were to sign 2 of the 3, I think they would be the 2 that they would go for. Do I think that United signing a midfielder in January would have stopped that from happening? I don't necessarily think so. Because in my mind, if I was looking at someone like Ruben Neves, I was doing that to replace someone like Ugarte in the squad. I think the point I'm trying to make here is I know why they didn't spend in January. they've shown that not spending in last January, was followed by an amazing summer. And if there is, hey, look, there were protests ahead of the game against Fulham, and there will be more protests. The way that Ineos have treated match-going fans and sort of chipped away at the match-going experience has been really bad. The redundancies. There's been so many things that Ineos have got wrong. Recruitment is not one of them. Our recruitment has been better. Those three have massively impacted this season in a positive sense. Do I have complete belief? Yeah, okay, Dorgu came in January. It still wasn't as much as the United fans wanted. That's kind of the point I'm making. Ineos got it right last summer. Now, I completely questioned signing... I didn't question signing Šeško. I questioned spending 70 million on a striker when we needed a central midfielder. Which I still stand by because the midfield is such a big problem still. But the goals are coming in. We've scored as many goals now as we did in the whole of last season. So we've got 14 games worth of extra goals coming. I'm going to go down and read your comments because I understand some frustrations, but I think naturally there's a bit of an over-the-top reaction that's saying like, oh, it's all completely doom and gloom. Oh, there's no chance of any ambition. Oh, they're just shocking. They're just disgraceful. Blah, 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 blah. I would have preferred United to have signed a midfielder in January. Do I think it now completely collapses the second half of the season? No. Are United at risk due to injuries? Yes. I don't think a January transfer window could have changed that in reality. I think we've got strength and depth up front. So, like, for example, we can cope without Dorgu. It will hurt us if that happens in midfield. Of course, we signed Aiden Heaven last January, I think, as well. Was it last January? I'm pretty sure they were both unveiled on the pitch together. Yeah, Mirka, that's the interesting one. What are your thoughts on United potentially looking at a left wing option? I look at that and I go, really? What's everyone else's take on that? Like, if I'm going to be looking at, I'm not looking really at United signing any more attackers before we sign other bloody positions first. There's like 3 other, maybe 4 priorities. You're looking at both central midfield positions. I think number 10 you're pretty okay with. I don't really know what's going to be going on with Mason Mount, if I'm honest. Striker, you could technically bring in a secondary striker, maybe. But I suppose we don't have a natural winger, per se. Like an OG width player. You're kind of seeing a little bit of the benefits there of Dorgu. Ahmad, I suppose, is doing that a little bit on the right-hand side, but he's right and he's cutting in towards the edge of the box. I'm interested to know as to what you think of the idea, because United clearly wanted one, by the way. That's why we went after Semenyo. And we tried to sign Semenyo before we signed Cunha, but even though we had signed Cunha, we still went after Semenyo. So it does show you that the club wants more there. The club sees that as a position where they want to strengthen, even if I don't. And what you're saying down there, summer targets could hinge on getting the Champions League. Few key injuries easily derails that and totally scuppers the World Cup. Totally scuppers the summer. The World Cup already makes it hard. I think a few key injuries to any team at any point scuppers any season. Do I think that United could have signed enough in January that would have made me just feel, we're cool, man. We're fine. Injuries can't hurt us. No, I don't think we could have done that. I think we could have signed... Did anybody really sign players on loan? I'm trying to think. I felt like they were quite... Mate, can we just take a moment to think that Crystal Palace have paid £48 million for Strand Larsen, and that Mateta failed a medical and is staying at that club? boy, oh boy, they are getting... They had the high of winning their first ever major trophy in the FA Cup, and that the crash down to earth this season has been spectacular. Really, really bad for them. We are the best team at set pieces this season. There you go. Fun fact. Rich, good morning to you, dude. Thanks for gifting 5 memberships, and thanks for getting involved. Would I take Schlager or Seiwald from Leipzig? I haven't watched Leipzig enough. Could Dorgu's recent form in that more forward role change things when it comes to the left-hand side? I think we asked this poll earlier. And let me check the poll, by the way. So we've got 700 votes are in. 80% of you are saying you would rather not sign a midfielder than sign Gallagher for that amount of money, and I completely agree with you. Do I think that United could have found some value in a loan signing? I think it's possible. But they chose against it. And as David Ornstein's sort of speaking about here, central midfield, of course, is going to be the big priority. What else is he saying? He's mentioning left wing there. There's another little minute in this chat. Have a listen.
Will Harry Maguire be leaving the club? He's been so important, but this is his option year, and he's due to leave. No news on a new contract, so central defence will be an area of focus. So there's a number of positions there that Manchester United and whoever the new head coach is going to be, which is going to be one of the biggest stories of 2026, whether it be Michael Carrick.
Bloody hell. And all of these conversations, you kind of forget, oh, wait a minute, we don't actually have a manager for next season. You know what I'm going to say? Because we say it every summer. This feels like one of the biggest summers in blah, 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 blah. Because every summer it does feel like that. Because you want to be making that step forward. You want to be taking the next... You don't want to be having the same sorts of conversations you've had before. Last summer, they got it right with the signings. They proved me wrong a little bit. No, they didn't actually, because, yeah, we needed a central midfielder. We just didn't have enough money for it. And we tried to go after whatever, but we couldn't get him for the price that we wanted to. You're looking at United this summer signing 2 midfielders. I think the best part of 200 mil for those 2 midfielders. They're not going to be where United take any sort of Senny Le Mans type risks. Because Senny was a risk. It was a risk that paid off, and it was a very good strategy choice, by the way. Emi Martinez, push you to the side. Huge wages, Premier League experience, yes, but you're too old. No, thank you. Move on. Senny Le Mans, in you come. Much cheaper, and he has proven himself. He's very much looking like our number one. Certainly is this season. I hope he is coming from next season onwards too. But I don't think United would take that sort of midfield signing as enough to bring into our midfield. Now, you might see that United sign 1, 2 midfielders, maybe even 3 midfielders, and one of those third midfielders could be someone young and up and coming, like 20, 25 mil plucked from the Dutch league or somewhere else. But your main 2 signings are going to be Premier League established midfielders. And it's very likely, if United get what they want, that it's going to be Anderson and Belieber. Yeah, and the data definitely worked with Senny, but it wasn't just the data, was it? It was Tony Cotton as well, United's chief goalkeeping scout. Just, that's where you finally saw United, and it's probably part of the problem. I wouldn't say it was the beginning of the problem, but it probably didn't help. The fact that Ruben Amorim was overpowered. I want Emi Martinez. No, you're not getting him. This is who we're signing for the football club. That's United actually having a bit of a strategy above just giving a manager what he wants. And it certainly worked in that sense. But maybe a Kone step up is expected, says Brian. And let's find out. Let's see how he gets on in the second half of the season. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It may well be. It could happen depending on how he gets on, really. Space saying, not a fan of the board in any way. But I think last summer was one of the best windows we had in terms of overall impacts from each signing. And I've already done a video on that. Like, we're just not used to it. As United fans, truthfully, even when signings are successful, like it's rarely... It's rare that they hit the ground running at United. Whereas I think Mbeumo did it straight away. Cunha, I think, was doing it without scoring and without, but he's now doing both. And Šeško, quiet start, but he's now got 4 in his last 4 games, and he scored the winner in front of the Stretford end. Impact, impact, impact. Let me go down and read some more of your comments out. I'm interested here. It's what I always like to do, try and actually have a chat with you every morning. Anthony saying, do you think we should take advantage of Palace's situation and go for Wharton? He might push for a transfer. Mate, Palace are a fragile club now. If you imagine the position of strength they were in after the FA Cup final last season, they managed to hold on to Mark Gahey. They managed to win the FA Cup. They had Mateta, who had a fantastic season. Adam Wharton, who was a key part of that. Glasner, who had every Palace fan, to now, woof. That's some drop-off. Like, MB, you're saying, like, Wharton's form has dropped off in the last couple of weeks. There were a lot of people that looked at Carlos Baleba and just, no chance I would sign him after his form in the first, let's be honest, half of this season at Brighton. But I wasn't one of them. I think it's kind of important to look past for it in the exact same way that I've taught myself from looking at Onana and everything he's doing at Inter and the great form that he had before he came. That doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to see that. It's the fundamentals. It's the underlying stuff. Baleba's not better than Mainu. No, he's a different player to him. And so is Anderson. Anderson is the most complete of the three midfielders that we're linked with. Anderson, Baleba and Wharton in terms of his ability on the ball, but also his ability and work rate off the ball. Anyway, the January transfer window is done. United, we didn't sign anybody. It's no surprise, really. Going into the window, I was hopeful of a midfielder, and then we sacked our manager, head coach, and we brought in an interim one, and then we brought in another one. So we've had 3 managers in January, and we went after Semenyo. That was the peak of the window, right? That's the peak of the window. What I was saying down here, if Crystal Palace won't get relegated, right? That's not going to happen. Yeah, Baleba looked a lot better in AFCON. Maybe because the football was a lesser degree, which, let's be honest, part of it. But he certainly looked more confident. So we're going to have our latest. Remember, we've already done one of these. We did a scouting report on Baleba, Anderson and Wharton's season so far. And we're going to have an update on that. Probably coming in the next, I reckon, 2 weeks. There's 13 days between our game against West Ham and then Everton. So, space for us to have these conversations. So, I'm going to be covering those, right? Don't you worry about that. What else saying down here? Baleba all day long, someone says. What about Lamine Kamara? Dude, if you want to start going into that game again, you can throw in like 15, 20 midfielder names who are all going to be, he might be good, could be good, could be good as well. It's not what we're doing. United are clearly focused on Anderson, Wharton, and Baleba. That's what they're doing. Yeah, and we'll definitely take a look at other choices too. Bouadi is one that I've been speaking about quite a lot, but a very different type of midfielder. He's a young and up-and-coming midfielder breaking through in the French league compared to somebody who's already established himself in the Premier League. And that's clearly United's main strategy. They got who they wanted in Cunha and Mbeumo. Can they do the same in midfield? You know, a question I want to ask you here quickly to wrap up this before we then speak about under 21, speak a little bit on Casemiro. This. Last summer, United managed to convince Cunha and Mbeumo to join. And realistically, both of them could have signed for multiple Premier League clubs. And especially Mbeumo. That was when Spurs wanted him. I think it was linked with Arsenal. Newcastle definitely wanted him as well. Probably could have gone Liverpool maybe too. We managed to convince both of those. Do you think United have a harder or an easier time convincing the midfielders that we want to sign this summer? Because I think it was quite impressive, really, that we were able to get Cunha and Mbeumo, given that we just finished 15th. We just lost the Europa League final. We had no Champions League football next season. People were questioning whether we had any sort of money, whether there was any sort of real structure and plan behind the scenes. So I think United it was probably a harder sell as a project for Cunha and Mbeumo than I think it will be for Anderson or Wharton or Belieber. But at the same time, Champions League is going to be a big defining factor as to whether it's an easier or a harder conversation. I agree with you on that one. I suppose what any of them do at the World Cup, I think might make it a little bit harder. So there's certain things that I suppose getting into the Champions League is inside our control. What happens at the World Cup is outside of our control. Also, level of competition. I do think there was quite a bit for Mbeumo. But Anderson is going to be... It wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool, City, United... Newcastle can't afford him now. But they're pissed they sold him. Yeah, Liverpool, City and United I think will all be in for him. Gus, you're saying it's all about money and status? United is... Mate, it's one thing that we've just... The bloody power of the legacy that man left behind. Can't help but just take it for granted a little bit. Like the impact that it clearly still has on some of these signings is mad. Let me see what else you're saying, and then we'll wrap up the transfer talk. Siegs and Mirko, you think it'll be a little bit harder? Hard, but we can still convince them long term. I don't think you're going to be convincing Anderson or Believer about the long term at United. It'll be about next season. If we sign the midfielders like you that we think we should be signing, I imagine they'll be selling United next season as title contenders. No, I don't know. I don't personally think that's going to happen next season. Next season, if it all goes to plan, I think we should be like comfortably in the top 3 and kind of staying there all season. And then the season after is when the actual title push comes. But we'll find out. Yeah, it's I understand if you're frustrated at January. I'm actually quite happy that the club didn't do any mad panic buys with loans that have obligations on for players that we might not actually want in a few months' time. Would I have liked the club to have made a loan signing that didn't have an obligation? And it basically gave us a bit of an option and a bit of a squad boost for the second half of the season. Yeah, I think that would have been nice. But we didn't. And those sorts of deals aren't the easiest to find anyway. But we move on. Now let's speak about somebody who... Well, he's already made his debut at the club. And I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more of him. Right? United's under-21s beating West Brom 5-1 yesterday. Absolutely whooping them. Adam Lawrence back in as under-21s boss. And a certain Shea Lacey bagged himself a hat-trick. And again... You're talking about left winger. Like, Shea Lacey is a right winger. That is his natural position. Like, man, we are spoilt. If you're looking at that right wing position, you're looking at Mbeumo, you're looking at Amass, and you're looking at the youngster coming through. You're looking at Shea Lacey. You're looking at 3 ridiculous options there. If only you had that sort of strength and depth on the left. Certainly don't have that. But anyway, bagged himself a hat trick last night. Look at that Tekers on the penalty. Staring at the keeper. Looking at where he moves. I mean, it is how you take penalties. Really annoyed me, Raul Jimenez's penalty. He stopped like 4 times in the run-up. Ridiculous. Unfortunately for him, I know he's two-footed. Yeah, I know he is. But the majority of the time that he's played off the right-hand side. Now, when you're at that age, your position is not fixed. It's just where a player has naturally developed through the academy. That's where he's played. So it might be interesting to say, Lacey could come on the left, but he's somebody who you really want cutting inside and shooting rather than cutting outside and crossing. Hence why the right or central positions are probably a little bit more suited to him. Anyway, definitely going to be seeing more of him in the first team between now and the end of the season. Scored a hat-trick. Great to see. Cunha, Dorgu and JJ on the left. Mate, JJ's having a cracking season. It's fair to say that he might be part of the conversation next season too. 15, I think he is. Did he turn 15 this year? I think so. Jason saying, I remember we had no choice on the right, only on the left a couple of seasons ago. Do you remember when we signed Sancho? And we were like, we finally sorted our right wing situation out. Oh. He doesn't actually want to play on the right. He only wants to play on the left, but Rashford's already playing there. Fantastic news. Good job, United. You scouted him properly. Well done there. Skepta saying he played as a central midfielder yesterday. Need to go and watch the highlights. Right. Shall we run through this? And let's wrap up for today's show. I'll let you know what's coming today. So, we're going to be doing a double drop today. Got some really cool ideas for some videos I'd like to do. And the video yesterday, it's our standard video. After a game, what we learned. I ran through that. I'm going to probably try and bring some tweaks to these videos to make them a little bit better. Because what I'm always trying to do, me and the team, trying to keep improving our content. So if you have any ideas of things you'd like to do, then reach out to us. You could probably reach out to community@unitedpeoples.tv, or if you want to, just tag either me or Maddie or Alex on Discord if you've got any ideas for videos you'd like to see or things you feel like you want us to do more of. Make sure you reach out. But today's video, I'm looking forward to doing this one. I want to do a video on sort of how I think Carrick has helped United players and fans to believe in these first 3 games. Because it's not been expected. Not to this level. We, of course, were optimistic and we hoped that we could get results in his first 3 games. But it wasn't just a smash and grab against City. It was a domination. It wasn't... I don't think you can call it a smash and grab against Arsenal. But to come from conceding a 88th minute equaliser to them winning it, there's been some real patterns of things I've seen on and off the pitch in these first 3 games that I hope we now see continued until the rest of the season. Or for the rest of the season. So that's going to be a lunchtime video. And I think I might do a video this evening on Bruno Fernandes. I think it's about time a lot of people apologise to Bruno. Because what I'm seeing with Bruno now, I'm seeing rival fans finally run out of energy for trying to suggest that Bruno Fernandes is an average player. I think they're finally realising that they can't do it anymore. And I'm enjoying that. I'm really enjoying that on his behalf. This make you laugh. Casemiro there with more goals than Saka. That made me laugh. And you know what I loved? Is this, question mark, the most satisfying heat map that you've ever seen of any player ever? I mean, it might be. Man. I don't know why that's so satisfying. Dark Ray saying Sam fans should apologise to Manu as well. I think that's a little bit different. I think Manu is just getting the space to show himself now that he wasn't getting before. I think the biggest problem for Kobbie Manu wasn't the fans before, it was Ruben Amorim. But now that that's been removed and he's been given the platform, we're seeing Kobbie really, really shine. Anyway, has to be one of the most satisfying heat maps I've ever seen. Dedicate one of the afternoon videos to the women's team. Well, fire that over. I don't know enough about the women's team, if I'm being completely honest. I need to bring in an expert to hopefully sort of co-present alongside me. That's what I'd like to do. Sam's specialist subject to a mastermind would be Bruno. Would it? I actually think I'd be crap if I ever went on a mastermind and did like United. You think I'd know it all, but I don't. It's the sort of thing like, you know when someone asks you to tell a joke and you're like, I've heard a million jokes. And like on the spot, you can't think of one. Really annoying. Anyway, the January transfer window is over. We didn't sign anybody. Kel's surprise. There was no secret midfield signing. There was no secret anything, right? Will that hurt United between now and the summer? Now, we're all hoping not. It could well do, depending on injuries. That's going to be down to game management, making subs at the right time, maybe switching for certain games. So, for example, we play Spurs 12:30 on a Saturday, and then I think we play West Ham on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. Now, there's going to be a 13-day gap between those games, but, for example, you can't exactly risk playing Casemiro for 85 minutes in both of those, can you? Don't quite know. Look, I'm going to run through everything tomorrow morning. The next live news show, I'll be here at 10 a.m. Today, you're going to get probably two videos. So make sure you do check those out. Thank you all for getting involved. I really enjoyed the chat there. I'll see you soon. Take it easy, everyone.